Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time and depending on when you're going to be seeing this video. It's your brother, your boy, courserepscorner. Like I always tell you guys, it's my corner, it's your corner, and it's our corner.
I don't wanna fall in love, I just wanna have some fun, yeah. I don't wanna fall in love.
Good evening. Is it good evening? That side looks very dark. Good afternoon, everyone. Your Excellency, the Governor, and his amiable wife, the Deputy, the incoming Governor, and the Deputy, my leader, Dr. Odili, and the amiable wife, the Chief Judge. Please allow me to stand wisely on the protocol established by the chairman. Let me also say I have eliminated a few chapters from my own text. You have the lecture with you, so you can read the entire text to save time. Also, as I speak, when I talk of leaders, I may not be including all leaders. I have to speak in generic terms, or states. We know some states and governors have performed. Rivers, Gombe, Lagos, for example. So, it is indeed a great honor to be invited to deliver this lecture as part of the exit activities to mark the formal end of the administration of Governor NYESOM WIKE, and of course, the transition to the incoming administration of Governor Ihonvbere. In some sense, on May 29, 2023, the transition will certainly mark the end of an era and the enthronement of another. I'm sure that millions of Nigerians would miss Governor WIKE for very many reasons. True, there will be differences between the outgoing and the incoming, but given that the new governor is coming out of the WIKE Postgraduate School of Political Strategy, I believe the deliverables will be similar in many ways. There is, and there should be, no cause for alarm. Allow me to congratulate both the outgoing and incoming governors of the state for successfully going through the complex, unsteady, uncertain, and sometimes wicked vortex of Nigerian politics. Let me especially acknowledge the tactically strategic politics of the governor, as Governor WIKE, that produced his desired results in the states and beyond. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. It demonstrates the work of vision, courage, commitment, and critical thinking. We are all Democrats. At least that is what we all claim, even while engaging in purely reactionary, opportunistic, and anti-democratic actions. We say we are Democrats. The problem is in our poor understanding of democracy, its principles and implications. We are yet to fully document the very special, peculiar, nation-specific content and context of our democracy and politics that you can't find in social science textbooks. The way we do our politics in Nigeria, 90% of it, you will not find it in any political science book anywhere on earth. This is because the practice of our democracy contains a lot of abracadabra, real magic, or juju. Yes, I mean it, juju. You will be amazed to know how much many politicians waste or spend with native doctors around the country. If you are not careful, strong, focused, and determined, our politics will first bankrupt you then twist your mind, then chop you to bits. I'm sure you know some who have jumped into the lagoon in Lagos after losing elections. The problem is not really in us, but this is why quite often it is difficult to explain some actions taken by political leaders and gatekeepers in the name of democracy. Our problem is in our history, our upbringing, our education, and our chronic tendency to just replicate or repeat past errors. We are often unwilling to think differently, work differently, and interact differently. We are the victims of received knowledge. And often what you hear is, hey, don't make wahala here. Don't rock the boat. Don't change the arrangements. Abi, you know one job, take your time. You hear that often in political meetings when you try to think differently and work differently. Unfortunately, these are the trends and thinking that shape our politics. In all these trends and tendencies, as well as permutations and miscalculations, democracy is the last thing on our minds, though we often claim to be Democrats. If we are Democrats, how do we explain the marginalization or only tenuous involvement of the vast majority in our politics? Yes, we work hard to call them out to vote during elections, but that's it. How do we explain the humongous sums of money, old currency, new or repainted currency, and forex that we dole out during campaigns and voting? Imagine the agony and humiliation imposed on innocent Nigerians in the name of currency redesign. So far, no one is being held accountable for that pain. How do we explain the truly commercialized security actions during elections? Don't have money during elections for security, both the one you organize and the formal security, and you will lose. How do we explain the marginalization of women, even when they are the majority in the land? In the National Assembly, they are not even up to 5%. How do we explain the very limited concentration on real issues affecting the people during campaigns? Yes, we can dole out insults, plenty of it. In fact, original insults that are hatched on a daily basis are often available in abundance. And I can go on to raise issues on our misplaced, misarranged, mispresented elements of our so-called democratic culture. Even as the elasticity of tolerance in our country is almost endless, people are beginning to regard the unusual conditions as normal, even with coping and adjustment mechanisms. If we want to tell ourselves the truth, we should be thinking and working differently. Unfortunately, hunger, grinding poverty, and very limited opportunities have dampened our ability for critical thinking and political action. What we have at the moment is not democracy, but illiberal democracy. I want to repeat that what we have now is not democracy. It is illiberal democracy. That democracy, it has all the trappings and coloration of democracy. You know, periodic election, INEC, multi-party system, people campaign, separation of powers, yeah. All those things are there. That's all the trappings, beautiful. But beneath that is a lot of closed democratic spaces, extra-legal deployment of power, authoritarian tendencies, and even extra-legal shortcuts to power. That's why you can do two primaries in the same election, the same political party, and you are in office against the electoral law. Yes, You can whitewash it, call it beautiful names, but like the legendary fella once said, dirty mouth cannot talk clean thing. I took time to look at the functions of political parties. Let me skip that part. But the truth of the matter is that if you ask yourselves, are these political parties behaving like political parties? Read Robert Dahl. You can Google it online. You will see the functions of political parties. There is no political party in Nigeria that is performing half of those functions. And what you find is that you will be hearing, we are the owners and founders of the party. How can somebody own a political party which should belong to the people? You will hear, quote, oh, those criticizing us are children. They were little when we were running the party. I do not even want to talk about gatekeepers, those that ensure you never see or meet the leaders, and that issues never get to the table for discussion. Try getting a simple document from any of the party national headquarters. You will meet a wall of apathy, chronic red tape, corruption and incompetence. Public education, well, maybe on TV, but as far as I know, it is not a project for any party in Nigeria to educate the public about anything, including when they want to repaint the currency. They don't talk to you. They only come out when it is election time. Yet they are supposed to organize the best minds for presentation in elections. They are supposed to train new leaders. They are supposed to have project priorities, what you call your slate or platform, made known to the people. The majority of party members do not even have the party constitution. And the truth is, we are all Democrats. The way the parties treat each other and the leaders treat each other, the language they use on each other, you would think they are mortal enemies. They are no longer Nigerians. They are from space. There is no attempt to engage in political debate. Some even avoid debates. Debates to come and tell Nigerians who you are, where you have been, where you are coming from, where you want to go, how you want to do it, what you want to do. They dodge. What kind of people are these ones? Well, let me go. Ordinarily, a democratic country should work on the domestication and institutionalization of democratic tenets. It should, after a decade or so, begin to see the result of its journey away from dictatorship to inclusive participation of the people, opening of democratic spaces, training and presentation of new leaders, and alternative discourses on social justice, gender, and environmental rights and the rule of law. This will enhance the move towards democratization. That word, democratization, is not even in our discourse. Yet, that is the only way you measure if your democracy is growing, maturing, surviving, efficient, and effective. This democratization gives the people, their communities and constituencies, priorities in the processes of growth and development. Where this is not the case, we cannot talk about substantial progress. And this is where leadership comes into the question. True or genuine leaders must show pride, energy, confidence, and courage at all times. They must have compassion, knowledge, competence, integrity, and a high capacity to engage friends and foe. True leaders must have a grasp of their historical realities and an appreciation of the content of political engagements as they strive to reposition the social formation. But if your goal is not to reposition the social formation, you can find enemies everywhere. You can blame your problem on previous leaders. You can decide to look for enemies where they don't exist to distract the people. But today, in this country, there are just too many incompetent, wicked, uncaring, visionless, opportunistic, inefficient, demonic, and diabolical persons in positions of authority and decision-making. Everywhere. You wonder how they got there, what they are doing there. Nothing. They're not interested in the progress of the country. It's shortcuts to everything. You don't bribe them, you get nothing. Whether it is passport you want to get your tax certificate, anything you want. Driver's license, they frustrate the hell out of you and their leaders. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, tell me, how can we explain 20 million children out of school in a country where there is no war? Dilapidated schools, primary schools with no toilets or playgrounds, with 6-year-olds. Classrooms with no furniture. Empty libraries and laboratories. This is not storytelling by a former chairman of ASU. I'm chairman basic education. I go around the country and I see these schools. And yet they collect billions every year from UBEC. So how do we understand why many states refuse to pay counterpart funds to even collect their allocation from UBEC? The money is there. Pay counterpart and collect everything. They won't. How do we explain horrible health facilities, non-functioning primary health care centers, dotted all over the rural areas? Even the hospitals are no longer consulting clinics. You remember consulting clinic was an element in the cool speech of one man. What about budget indiscipline? Grossly misplaced priorities and roads that are death traps. This is a country where all kinds of animals cut away hundreds of millions of naira. Monkeys, snakes, termites, catfish, worms, even spirits. You know, willy. They accuse them of the money is missing and it was taken away by monkeys or snakes. Millions. And you know how heavy 1 million or 10 million can be. These are hundreds of millions. And nothing happens. Another group of people in this country imported clearly contaminated fuel and destroyed many private vehicles. No one has been held accountable or sanctioned. We set up rail lines and bandits control how we use them. We cannot even supply power to our people, and millions suffer all sorts of humiliations and pains from power cuts. Water does not flow where it should flow. We sink our boreholes, arrange our private security, fence our homes like maximum security prisons, invest heavily in bulletproof vehicles, motion sensors, and electric fences around our homes. An innocent visitor to Nigeria may ask, what exactly is going on here? Let me skip some parts. Well, I hope so far you follow what I've said. We have democracy with no democratization. Actually, we have illiberal democracy that cannot lead to democratization. Now we lack leaders to encourage and mobilize the citizenry to reach the highest points of their productive and creative abilities. Leaders that appear either confused, incompetent, or just unwilling and lacking the courage to take decisive steps to solve just one problem in our nation since political independence. If there's anybody here who can tell me one problem, just one, since 1960, that our leaders have solved, tell me, I will stop the lecture, you continue. Is it electricity? Is it road? Is it security, quality, education, health provision, agriculture and food production? You name it. All these are listed in OA Lawal, Economics for West Africa, which you use for your WIKE exam. The problems are there. Not one has been resolved in this country. We have a power, they say we are 4,000 megawatts. Now, can such leaders produce growth? Yes, they can produce growth. Can they produce development? Most unlikely. Can they precipitate situations that will enhance sustainable development? Certainly not. So we are stuck in square one. The elements are not there. This is not to say there are no islands of integrity, islands of progress, islands that do the opposite of these problems. But like I said, they are few and scattered. They are not yet brought together to form an ocean that will move Nigeria forward. So if we're in this situation, is there any need to talk about sustainable development? I'm not going to bore you with the definition of sustainable development because the United Nations has done that for us through the Sustainable Development Goals. I don't want to ask how many leaders know about the Sustainable Development Goals. And they all carry Android phones. The Sustainable Development Goals are there. They were watching videos instead of also educating themselves. The World Bank says sustainable development is an organizing principle that aims to provide necessary natural resources and ecosystem services to humans. In other words, development is a process of structural change and institution building that empowers the people and their communities to become productive, confident, and in control of their resources and environment. That is not in Nigeria. Everything beneath your soil and above it that is mineral belongs to people who don't even live in the community. If this is the case, sustainable development must mean the process, mechanisms, policies, programs that enables and empowers communities and constituencies to continuously improve on their environment and existential conditions to assure continuous progress for each member of the organization or the community. If you like, look at our local government system. There is a state, for the past 7 years, they have not even pretended that they wanted to conduct local government election. 7 years, the man has 1 year to go. And the local government councils cannot even remove a dead goat from the highway, much less fixing roads. Many houses of assembly, they even voted against themselves having autonomy. So you know where that instruction came from. National Assembly. You see us on TV. There are people who don't show up there at all. They don't come. Some have never moved one motion, one. Oh, no, that's too much work. Supported a motion moved by somebody else to just say, Mr. Speaker, I am so-so and so. I rise to second the motion ably moved by my friend. They have never said it. They collect salary, they collect allowances. Then you go to federal executive, there are ministers. You forget that they are in the federal cabinet because you have never seen them or heard from them. No media briefing, nothing whatsoever. I saw one recently and they were calling him minister. I said, minister of what? He said, government. I said, really? In this government? He said, yes. It's okay. But it is the inability to create a system, a monetary system, a sanction system, a corrective system that ensures efficiency, effectiveness, and deliverables to the people. So the problem begins and ends with the kind of leadership we have. If you say your child should not eat outside, feed the child at home. So I am arguing here that our leadership has not done well since 1960 to today, and this has corrupted and contaminated our democratic process, and so we cannot talk of sustainable development. It's not possible. You cannot, I think his lawyers would like to say so, you cannot build something on nothing. How? But what I've said so far is not new to anybody here. At one time in this country, states had bursaries for students. They had federal government scholarship. There was even federal loan. If you were in Faculty of Education, it was automatic scholarship. Today, the story is different. In this same country where we were, the library of the University of Ife was as good as any library anywhere on earth. They could borrow books from you from other universities. In this same country, no newspaper today is even publishing 250,000 copies. Who will read it? People are no longer reading. 250,000 copies. Publishers have closed down. They are publishing greeting cards and calendar. No longer books. Go to the universities. Courtism, not just courtisms are in primary schools. Our primary school children are joining courts and killing themselves in the rural areas. Go to any village, you want to pay for WIKE. Should not cost you more than 12,000, but they charge you 35 to 45,000 because the extra is to sort the invigilator, along with pounded yam and palm wine and very cold bottles of beer. So while he's eating and drinking, they are doing expose in the exam hall, and they come out and have 8 A's. Well, invite them to post-UME, they will show up. Somebody scored 320 in JAM, dodges post-UME. Don't you know something is wrong somewhere? But let us leave Nigeria alone, because that's a big elephant. One person cannot carry it. But one day, we're going to carry that elephant. Let me go to the NYESOM WIKE example. Maybe it may help us to throw some light on the lamentations, if you want to call it that. Yes, it is true that Governor WIKE is my good friend. It's good to say it up front. It's also true that he was my student at the University of Port Harcourt, and I'm proud of him. And he's very proud to say it anyway. If you were a bad teacher, your former students will see you and go the other way. It is equally true that he's not a perfect man. I don't think he was ever perfect, just like me. But who is perfect? Only God is perfect. No human, nobody in this room can claim that he or she is perfect. God is the only one that doesn't make mistakes. Just as I am proud to say that Dr. Peter Odili, the former governor of the state, is my friend and leader. One time Governor Rotimi Amici was also my student, as were many others, including Professor Ihonvbere. So I've been lucky to produce the kind of people that climb the ladder to the top. However, I watched closely the contributions of Dr. Odili directed at repositioning the state when he was governor. And he achieved a lot. I know I followed Obasanjo to this state, and we witnessed incredible interventions, war against underdevelopment. If his dream of becoming president of a republic had come to fruition, Nigeria would have been a much better place. And I can say without equivocation that Dr. Odili is not just a good man, but he's also a God-fearing man. In the same vein, the outgoing administration of NYESOM WIKE has marked a new departure in transformational leadership, governance, and development in Rivers State. It is when you look at the WIKE example that you begin to see the relevance of courageous, focused, and development-oriented leadership and the impact it can make in the communities and in the lives of citizens. I have walked some of the streets of Port Harcourt with the governor, and I see how people come out to wave at him and greet him. I've also walked one or two streets with some other governors, and people didn't come out. Even those that were paid to come out took the money and did not come out. And he said today was a day of worship, so that's why they are not out. I believe, let me remind us, that WIKE did not fall from nowhere. He is a properly trained lawyer with a spouse who is a brilliant lawyer. He was local government council chairman, and by existing accounts, he performed very well. He was chief of staff to the state governor, and we have no account of a lackluster performance. He was Minister of State and Supervising Minister of Education. We know the numerous bold innovations he initiated and the laudable achievements in his time. Then he became governor of Edo State. No, 5 minutes is not enough to talk about this part of this talk. Make it 10, please. Then he became governor of Rivers State. Those that refused to pay attention to him within and beyond the state now took notice, especially when he began to unleash novel programs and policies, engage chronic conservative and reactionary elements within and beyond the state, and lay a foundation for the new Rivers State. I truly believe that WIKE's assumption of power in Rivers State marked a whole new era of local politics, deployment of power, and the reorganization of political spaces. The state, Rivers State, became a mecca as politicians, irrespective of party and status, began to see the state in new light and the hub of survival and influence. I have seen them here. All parties, all former governors coming to see the governor of Rivers State. You should clap for yourselves. I come from a state. They don't go there like that. Something is happening here, and some people pretend it is not happening. As well, many found in WIKE a source of strength and support to challenge political oppression, marginalization, and injustice. In some way, WIKE gave voice to the voiceless, power to the weak, platform to the downtrodden, and dignity to the despised. WIKE's era also saw a massive expansion in the investment climate in the state, witnessed the new businesses, institutions, and infrastructural outlook. These investments lead to job creation and substantial improvement in the internally generated revenue. Without doubt, this era equally marked a new epoch in the place of Rivers State in national discourses and political permutations. WIKE brought in a new phase of domestic and international appreciation of the location of the state in economic calculations. I personally cannot believe that this is the same city and state, because I lived in Port Harcourt for many years, and you don't have to like WIKE to acknowledge this, that it is a completely new city. Beyond Port Harcourt, WIKE has shown that rural people also deserve to feel the touch of governance, especially in terms of linking local communities to the center of power in Port Harcourt. Like a man in a hurry to finish an assignment, he unleashed massive interventions, often at great cost, on practically every sector: health, education, administration of justice, and rural development. What has been done can be maintained by the new Ihonvbere administration, and what he has not done will be the responsibility of Governor Ihonvbere and his team. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to listen to this paragraph because it means a lot to me. The sort of battle that Governor Wike fought very recently on behalf of the entire southern Nigeria, and by implication the entire country, who has fought such a fight in our recent history? Think about it. Think about it. Think of all the big men with big agbada and long cards. Which of them has fought such a fight recently? We are not talking of meaningless coup brokers or sectional ethnic-based opposition or protests, useful as they may be. We are talking about a very serious, organized, focused, practical, and surgically executed actions on the political terrain of Nigeria without arms or protests. They didn't mobilize students like we used to do. No, but the actions were surgically delivered. I may be wrong, though I doubt it, when I say that no one person has ever challenged the assumed hegemony of a major political party, its leaders, the custodians of power, and many that do not really give a damn about the unity and future of Nigeria in the way that Wike did. Many governors in the South betrayed him. Some bad-mouthed him. Some attacked him and called him names. Yet others said it was a pursuit of personal ambition and sour grapes. The fact is that Wike is a great man, a warrior, a leader, strategic calculator, and he is the hero of our time. Any person who thinks this is a lie, or I'm just heaping praises on him, can challenge me here or the pages of any paper, I will reply. He spoke the truth to power. That's what made them uncomfortable. Doesn't care who you are. You may be the president, or you may be a party chairman in a state. He will tell you the truth the way it is. And he's not seeking for your approval. He's saying it not in hiding. In fact, he will call all the TVs and say it to them. This is wrong and I'm going to fight it. He spoke the truth to power. He took a clear stand on the political sands of time and challenged his opponents to a duel. He came out vindicated and victorious. I remember when he said one man, a big man, took a big bribe in Lagos. And he said, deny it, and I will tell you the day, the hour, where the money came from, how you collected it. The man didn't challenge him. We are still waiting for the challenge. There are even pro bono lawyers in Nigeria that will take. This is because he does his research, and that's what a leader should do. Before you talk, know what you're talking about. That is how a leader should act. Say what you like. I think many postgraduate dissertations in the social sciences will come out of Wike's direct engagement with political party power in Nigeria. As the saying goes, when the come comes to become, we shall know who is who. Today, we know who is who. Now, what were the weapons? What gave him this power, the audacity of courage to engage in this transformation within and beyond and engage the system? This is not exhaustive, but I will say one, undiluted commitment to the growth and development of Rivers State. I don't need to tell you stories about that. Willingness to tap talents from all over the nation and globally. Doesn't matter whether you are from Rivers State If you have a talent you can use to grow the state, it would attract you here. That is the way a leader should be. Belief in the necessity for transformation. You can't keep whitewashing, paint it every year and think you are making a change. Transform the system. Understanding Nigerian politics and history. Understanding the main actors in the state and national politics. If you do not know your enemy, you do not know your territory, you cannot change it, you cannot know where the trouble is coming from. Willingness to fight, and if necessary, take no prisoners. Any general must recognize that. Willingness to fight, and if necessary, take no prisoners. Courage to take a stand, defend his position, recruit support, and show deliverables. An understanding of the fact that political fighting does not mean abandonment of growth and development within the state. Effective control of the party, civil and public service, and political processes in the state. Yeah, if you don't like that, try it and see the results you will get. Unpreparedness to ignore political enemies, opportunists, double-faced elements, and disloyal friends. Courage in stating his convictions and exposing political rascality and debauchery, no matter whose horse is God. Preparedness to deploy funds to holistic development, not minding the size to address pressing problems. And I think somebody referred to it earlier ago. And if I may add, and in his own words, taking my course in theory of state at the University of Port Harcourt, where he gained useful insights into the Gramscian theory of state and methods of struggle, the war of movement, the war of position, and underground warfare, that has empowered him to understand, analyze, interpret, and strategize against his opponents and come out victorious. Let me not drag this lecture for too long. The point I'm making is that where democracy and its rules are not respected, where leadership lacks courage and vision, it cannot provide sustainable development. In fact, it will remain nothing but motion in a barber's chair. A lot of motion, but no progress. Many young people would not know that chair. In the barber's shop in those days, when you sit on it, it can go this way. So the barber stays in just one place. Doesn't have to come here, come here. So there's a lot of movement on that chair, but it doesn't move from where it is. Motion without progress. I believe that the current situation in this country requires a major rethink and serious ideological and philosophical repositioning. The very hard and patriotic efforts of the few that represents islands of integrity and positive leadership, like we see in River State, will most times be frustrated and encouraged to join the system, unless you have that inner strength in you to resist temptation, political temptation. As well, the identity of the patriots and progressives will not be overshadowed by those with fake, purchased, and stolen identities. They call themselves chiefs when they are not. Many are apostles and bishops, self-proclaimed, doctors, professors with small p. No, there are professors with a small p. There are professors with a capital P. The professor with a small p is a political professor. You won't find him in the library. You won't even find him on Google. Yet, he's a professor. Then there are professors with a capital P, like Adibe. Put him on Google and you'll be satisfied that yes. And all sorts of titles that mean little in the field of battle. Is it not interesting that those we call the lion, the tiger, elephant, serpent, viper, scorpion are the first to flee at the first signs of conflict? When election is coming, they relocate their families abroad. They have a waiting ticket and a booking on a private jet. That will tell you that their hearts are not in the system. But they have big political names. Don't let those names frighten you. It is all imagined and invented identities. This is why it is easy for so-called leaders to appropriate the voices of the people and use the same to seek for contracts, appointments, and access to power. In conclusion, what must be done? We cannot give up on Nigeria. The opportunities that abound in Nigeria do not exist elsewhere. If we cannot provide power, water, good health services, good roads, security, seamless banking services, we have no grounds to call ourselves leaders. These are basic things. Basic human existence require this. Is it not a shame to be leading a group of frustrated, hungry, sickly, half-educated, unemployed people that lack faith in the leadership and society? You are a leader, but look at the people behind you, they can't even walk. People that think that the national anthem is a joke when you say sing the national anthem. Some of them will sing the old anthem. We must therefore generate and sustain a national conversation for the community level to the national level on critical issues of leadership, followership, governance, restructuring, constitutionalism, growth and development. We must not ignore the critical issues of technology, women, the youth, rural areas and the environment, and how to build a conversation on new policies with emphasis on liberation, autonomy, and production. We must generate the capacity to reject and condemn bad leaders while recognizing those that have records of performance and commitment over time. Rivers State is very fortunate to have a leader like NYESOM WIKE at this critical time in history. I come from a state, so I know what I'm talking about. Like him or not, he has repositioned the state significantly. He has set new standards for measuring performance in office. WIKE has given the Rivers men and women an added gate, sense of pride, and the license to demand, very loudly if necessary, a seat at the decision-making table. Henceforth, no governor in the state can dare go below the bar he has set, and following in his footsteps, the state can only enjoy continued growth and development. I'm happy that Sim is here, so he has his bed made for him, and he knows how to lie on it or not. As he leaves office, Dr. NYESOM WIKE cannot afford to leave his unfinished business. If he had become president of the Federal Republic, the entire nation would have become a construction site. But yes, that's the truth. Look at what he has done here. And if you, after all, when we were campaigning for Tinubu, we said, well, look at what he did in Lagos. That was 16 years ago. Now this is just happening. So if it had happened, you know what would have happened in the country? Without doubt, WIKE has initiated a new momentum to protect the interests of southern Nigeria in national political calculations. And he must continue. He must continue on that quest. He has put together a political team that has demonstrated what he could do to big organizations and big men. He must continue to expand, strengthen, and lead that team to focus on salient national issues without ignoring the substructure of society. Finally, all leaders make mistakes, get betrayed, lose touch with old friends. He must spend time to strategize how to mend fences. This can only make him stronger, certainly not weaker. I wish him and Rivers State under Ihonvbere an even better experience into the future. I believe that the best is yet to come for Wike and Rivers State. Thank you very much for listening, and I appreciate the opportunity.